If you've ever felt like you've lost yourself in a relationship, if you ended a relationship and you don't recognize who you are, if you've ever felt lost and just completely depleted after ending a relationship, get in here. This video is for you. Hi my loves, it's your Related Girl from around the way, where we have culture, conversation, and community. And in today's video, I'm coming to you all with something that's so important. Honestly, I feel like this is a video that I wanted to make a long time ago, but I just felt like, I don't know, I wanted to be more but I'm just speaking from the heart, girl. This is a video for the girlies who have been in toxic relationships, who are ending toxic cycles, whether it's romantic, friends, family, and you're now in the space, in the spirit of rebuilding yourself. What does that actually look like? How do I get there? And what is it actually giving? Okay, we're going to get into those things in this video, so make sure you continue to watch. Before you do though, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this type of commentary, because this is what we do. I love to have you over here in building the community and building the vibe. Okay, so let's just hop into it. I'm gonna start off by saying I have been there before. Okay, I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this, sister. I've been there before. Bad, down bad. Okay, almost down to the pits of hell with these niggas. Especially when it comes to giving so much of yourself that you feel lost in the interim. So anything that I'm saying out loud to myself, because it's a slippery slope now. It's a slippery slope. But also to anybody under the sound of my voice, girl, there is hope for you once this storm is over with. I know what it's like to give so much of yourself to someone, and then like honestly we see like, oh, I gave it, oh, I gave my all to you, I gave my all to you. And sometimes it don't even be that person, it just be to the relationship. It's just giving so much energy to what you think it could be, to what the potential could be, and you just want so badly. Or worse, my favorite, you just doing it so bad because you don't want to prove these motherfuckers right, so we got to hold on to this terrible toxic love. Girl, I done did it all. So I wanted to go into a couple of parts about this. The first part I want to get into is the identity breakdown. Toxic relationships have a way of stripping you down, right? Peeling back the layers slowly but surely. And for me, toxic and abusive are really interchangeable, because those toxic patterns show up in abusive ways, just as a complete disclaimer. And I don't know, maybe I should put like a little trigger warning too, girl. If you fresh up out of an abusive situation, this might be triggering for you, because we're going to talk about some things that may be, on that mental like that. And I don't want to trigger nobody, because again, I am several years removed and I can talk about it in a way that I feel it's helpful and healthy. But I understand and recognize if you're here, you might be in the thick of it. Shout out to you if you are. I'm sending you a lot of love and light, because it's not easy. It's not easy. But you wherever partner with someone who is toxic and abusive, you start to take on the traits that they find and they deem acceptable, that they want to have. It's something as simple as, oh, I like brunettes, which, girl, I'm just using it as an example clearly, but you know what I mean? I like brunettes, and all of a sudden you coming out with brown hair. It's like, well, this is not really who I am when you met me, but now you're projecting and you're telling me all of the things that you're into, all of these things that you like, and somehow or another, everything that you're telling me that you like, that you're attracted to, that you fantasize about is not me. If you ever find yourself in a relationship with someone who is telling you things that they like and they enjoy, and I like my woman to be plus size and you skinny and petite, get out of there. If he's telling you, oh, I like for my women to cook meals every night and as a traditional woman, and you don't even like to cook or boil water, get out of there. Don't hold on to the idea and the notion that, well, maybe he'll change for me, maybe I can show him this. And a lot of times women do that because we want to show them our worth. And the thing about it is, when someone is trying to put on, look at me, I'm worthy, you really end up repelling them. It's really how the push and the pull dynamic works. And push and pull dynamics can really turn into something that is cloaked as passionate. Oh, we're so passionate, we fight and we love and we're this and we make up. But really, those are unhealthy cycles. Right? Those are unhealthy cycles. Pay attention to how you feel around this person. If you feel like, you say things in a certain way, like, oh my God, you always saying it like this, and in the moment you're like, well, this is how I talk. But eventually, subconsciously, because we are women and we are feelers and we're empathic and we want so badly to be like, oh, okay, I want to do things to please this person who I love and I care about, we start to strip away those things, even if we're not doing it knowingly. Okay, even if we're doing it subconsciously, those things will and can happen and they creep up on you. So it starts off with the hair, and then starts off with the tone of voice, and okay, yes, sure, okay, are you do okay, yeah, whatever, and then suddenly it's, oh well, girl, my man don't really like when I hang with you, so now you're not hanging with that friend anymore, right? And then that turns into isolation and everything like this, and then so it's a trickle down effect. I love when people are like, I don't know how she ended up in that relationship and he's terrible and this, that, and the third, and I could never. But the whole thing is, abusive relationships are much like cults. You never think that you're going to end up in a cult. It's the smartest, brightest people who are part of cults. They're part of Scientology right now. And that's not because they just jump off the deep end and say, here you go, sign over your life. It's $1 billion, million-year contract. What they do is start off with one small thing and two small things. And then we're on step 3 and then we're on step 4. And it is a slow burn. It is a slow and slippery thing that happens over the course of time. In addition to emotional and trauma bonding, in addition to physical attraction, in addition to all of these other things that make you ignore the really, really, really big red flags. Okay, so your identity starts to break down. I was always a girl who was outspoken. I was always a girl who could be able to voice my opinions and articulate my points. Suddenly, I don't really have much to say. I might think it in my mind, but I don't, just because it's just too much or whatever. Let's just say he's not abusive, but it creates an issue and now we're beefing. I'm just not going to say that because I don't want to have to deal with the outcome. Girl, that is slow and very manipulative, abusive, controlling, tactics. That is a manipulative tactic and a form of control. I don't know if you know that, because when I was in those relationships, I didn't know that. Everybody always think abuse has to look like, him pounding you out, but it can also be a mental manipulation. It could be an emotional manipulation, but we can go there as well. And so what happens is you do all of these things, you change who you are, whether that's, inadvertently or unintentionally, or you were doing it just to kind of get by and make the relationship go a certain way. And when that person is no longer in relationship with you and you're no longer in connection, you're left with the pieces of, wow, like how did that even happen? Like it's a death of a version of a person that you tried to be, but then also to the person who you originally are, who you are in your heart of hearts, right? That is a form of self-abandonment. And that is a hard pill to swallow, because it's like, wow, I've completely abandoned my values. I've completely abandoned who I am as a person to be in relationship with you. And then when the relationship ends, what do I do now? I've already invested so much. And this is why a lot of people who are in cults also stay. Because you done cussed your mama out, you done told everybody off, you done invested all your money into this leader, into this organization, into whatever. And so for me to go back to this is a real understanding that I made the wrong decision and I was not right. I was misled and manipulated. And because that is a hard pill to swallow, most people stay in those negative and abusive and toxic relationships, because that's easier to do than to face the reality of the matter is you partner with the wrong person or you joined a cult. However you want to put it. You get what I'm saying? And if you are in that space and you're leaving, or you just have left and you've done the hard work already. I know it feels terrible because I was like, oh my God, what do I do? But the hard part is already done, sister. You're already out of there. Okay? And so that brings me to my second point. You have to be honest about your grieving. You have to be honest about the toxicity. You have to be honest about the abuse you faced, because if you're not honest about it, you can still romanticize what actually happened in your life and in your relationship. And when you romanticize that, there is room for you to continue to attract the same type of person, or hell, circle back to him. You understand what I'm saying? So when I say you have to be honest in your grieving, talk about and process all of the things that you did that caused you to abandon yourself. all of the things that you did that did not honor who you truly are. You know, you have to go to those spaces and those places that hurt a little bit. And I'm not saying get up here and broadcast it to the world. That might look like, you know, allowing yourself space to cry and really feel how you feel. Writing out a list of things that you did that you really didn't want to, and burning it and releasing it. That might look like, you know, just, you know, really talking to yourself. And I'm not saying it in a weird, you know, schizophrenic way. I'm saying it, and I don't mean to be, you know, rude to anybody who suffered from schizophrenia. I didn't mean it like that. But processing it and talking it out loud, like saying it and speaking it. I like to say things out loud because you need to hear it. I can say it in my mind, I can hear it all day, but I want to put those words into the ethers. I did not deserve that. I deserve a love who was understanding. I was in a situation that was unhealthy for me and I stayed too long. Boom, it's out there, right? So I'm not harboring those negative feelings. I'm not harboring the guilt. I'm not harboring the shame because I've released it and I've spoken it out. You know, I think that a lot of people try to go along with this whole, I don't care, I don't give a fuck, you know, because it's like buses, I'm on the next one and everything. But when you don't really sit in the feelings and you don't really process the emotional toll, and you don't speak it, you don't release it. If you don't release it, what does it do? It stays within you. And so whether it's festering and it's going to, you know, turn into and coagulate into something else, at the minimum, it's going to be there in you to be attracting other people who are similar to that, and you attract the same experiences. And so this is why I think it's so important, especially for me, to speak the things that I've been through. You can't heal what you don't reveal. Again, I'm not saying go scream into the mountaintops or go tell your biggest op, but you have to get it out. You have to understand and process in a way that's therapeutic, in a way that's releasing exactly what happened to you, so that way you can honestly grieve the relationship, you can honestly grieve the person that you became. You can, you know, also to grieve the what ifs, the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, because a lot of times when we're in these toxic relationships, we're not holding on to the abuse of it all. We're holding on to the idea that we have created in our minds, because the action is showing us something completely different. But in our minds, we know what it could have been. And even if it's never that, what you have to understand is how energy works. Is that when you have those emotions and you're emitting the energy of certain things, it becomes very real to us. I can have an emotion. I'm gonna give you a real example. When y'all watching corn, which I don't suggest that you do. Corn is terrible, especially as a woman. If you're watching corn, you're not really, you know, getting pounded on by this man or by this woman or whatever you went to. It's all in your mind, and your body responds to these emotions and these things and these images that you are creating, well, you see visually, that you're consuming in your mind. Your imagination works in the same way. And so when we're holding on to Tyrone, he's terrible, he beating your ass and he's doing a whole bunch of shit, you can't even see the real things because you have romanticized and fantasized what it is the relationship could be, or the opposite of that is the fear of what it would be like without this. It's twofold, because we might be holding on to a love that we feel like it should be the greatest, and then we might be holding on to a love because we feel like we can't be without this person, which I'm sure came by way of his manipulation and power control and dynamics and things like that. Get for real about the things that you've experienced, so that way you can get it out your system, you can help to get it out your mind, and you can start to truly heal from whatever it is that you experienced. Let's talk about attachment styles a little bit, because this changed the game for me. When we talk about attachment styles, I know everybody sees it all on the TikTok and this and that. Pause. Make sure you follow me on TikTok. All right, I'll link it in the description too, so it'll be easy for y'all. Make sure y'all follow me over on TikTok, period, shameless plug. But if you've ever felt like you were addicted to a person's cycle or a person's passion, this is why I'm a firm believer in not having makeup sex. Like there's no such thing with me. Like people, when I tell you I'm strict as hell, we need to be making up for real. My feelings need to be well adjusted. I need to be emotionally regulated before we engage in anything, because the truth of the matter is, when you are feeling like you are failing to accept something, no matter how bad it is, out of fear of abandonment, more than likely you're suffering from an anxious attachment style. And if you grew up in a dysfunctional family, if you have there's a whole thing that you can kind of go through to recognize what your attachment style is. You are more than likely with somebody who's emotionally unavailable and an avoidant. And so what you're attracting avoidance, and you are emotionally, anxiously attached, you get into this, I need, and they pull back and they pull back, I need, and I pull back. And it's just this literal cycle of we're up and we're down and we're high and we're low, and it's a chase, it's a thrill. It's like hanging the carrot in front of a stick. A person who's anxious, who really wants something, are going to go at it, and the other person is going to back up, and it's literally you're on a treadmill trying to catch this carrot that you're never going to get. And you have to understand, one, recognize what your attachment styles are so you can know how to reprogram and regulate your nervous system in order to not have an anxious attachment style. Not always your fault, because sometimes we grow up in households where we feel like the love had to be earned. We had to do X, Y, and Z in order to get affection or attention or emotional affirmation. And a lot of those things are programmed into us, which is why it's so important to do your inner child, your healing work, to understand and recognize, although I come off super confident and I'm amazing and I'm attractive and I get attention and this, that, and the third, but I'm very insecure because I grew up in a household where I was never validated and I was emotionally neglected. And so I need that. Do you need that? Because I need that. Someone like, I'm gonna need that. And it's like, girl, you're so beautiful. Why do you feel like? Because these are the women who, although very beautiful and successful and all of these things, they never stop to do the work. And so they have an anxious attachment style. They're emotionally insecure. And a lot of it is rooted in your childhood. And you're going through life and you're feeling like, if I do just enough, if you could just see my worth, if I could just make this meal, if I could just throw this pussy back, if I could just do whatever it is that you think that you need to do, then maybe I will be chosen. And maybe they will see that I'm enough. But if you're choosing the wrong partners because you are your nervous system is unregulated and you're emotionally unhinged and you're all of these different things, there's no way you're going to be attracting healthy partners. And if you do have a healthy partner, they're going to immediately see, oh girl, no, you got too much going on. Okay, bag a lady, you gon' miss your bus. Okay, you can't hurry up because you got too much stuff. You feel what I'm saying? When they see you coming, niggas take off running from you. It's true. Oh yes, they do. That's so real, girl. One day you will say, you crowding my space. We are crowding our spaces. And what I mean our space is like the good parts of us, the things that are our gifts, the things that we do naturally. We're crowding and doubting and casting all this negativity because we haven't done the work. We're crowding up our own space with all of this negativity, with all of this anxious attachment style, with all of these different, negative self-talk and limiting beliefs. And you're crowding up your space, not only my space, but your space. I don't want that. You know what I'm saying? Friendships, girlfriends don't want that. Learning your attachment style isn't a blame game. It's literally like a starting point for you to understand and reclaim your power. So you can carve out the type of woman that you want to be. Not the one that mom and them raised and big mom and them passed around and I was in the group home. Not that. Because everybody has a past, and at some point, I feel like if we here now, if you over here, I know my demographics. We're at the age where you have to start being accountable and responsible for the healing work that you did. Your parent wasn't shit, you had a terrible upbringing, or if you had a great however, you are now responsible to do the work so that way you can become and carve out the woman that you want to be in this lifetime. And lastly, I want to just talk a little bit about rebuilding. Rebuilding is about rediscovering. Right? And this is the perfect segue because a lot of times we go off of, oh, my mom did this when I was growing up, so this is how I do it, and I was just learned down. A lot of these behaviors, a lot of these patterns don't even belong to us. A lot of these behaviors and patterns and negative self-talk, all of this shit doesn't even belong to us. These things were inherited through our DNA, our genetic code, and the environment that we were in. And so if you are constantly if you're only swimming in a community pool, this is the only way that you know how to swim. So when you get out into the ocean, you don't know how to handle swimming when the current is coming up against you because you've only swam in a community pool. And this is what I mean when you're getting into different levels and different spaces in your life, you have to figure out what it is to transition from the pool to the ocean. And how are we going to get there? How are you going to get there? Because mommy and them can't teach you. She only swam in a community pool. But if you're moving into a direction where you know that there is something on your life that's going to cause you and force you to be bigger than that, to break the cycle, to get out of those karmic cycles, then you have to do the legwork to figure out, how can I become a strong swimmer so I can know how to swim in a different environment? And that's not always easy. One, you have to recognize you don't have the skills to be over in the ocean. That's first and foremost. Two, then you have to recognize, well, I don't really have any mentors. I don't have a swim coach. How I'm going to do it? How I'm going to do it? Right? And the first thing that I'm going to tell you is you have to figure out what you're good at. You have to figure out what you're bad at. I don't like to say bad, your areas of improvement. And then you need to start connecting the dots. When you understand and you recognize the things that were inherited, and then the things that are natural to you, that's a good starting point. That's a good starting point. The things that were put onto you by so-and-so, does that really resonate with you? Or were you just told that? Dismiss anything that was told to you that does not resonate with you, because you're carving out who you need to be. They only swam in the community pool. I'm going to the ocean. And that can be lonely, that could be scary, but it can also be exciting. It can also be an adventure. It could also be liberating. You know how liberating that is? You have the opportunity to build and carve out, literally etch a sketch, the woman you want to be and the life that you want to have. Good, I'm glad you're out of that situation. Now you have the opportunity to sit with you and figure out what it is that you want and where the hell you're going. And I'm gonna be right here with you, rooting for you, girl. We right here in it together. You feel what I'm saying? This is why I felt the need to come on here and really talk in a real way. This is, for me, what community is about. Each one teach one, you know what I mean? Let's lock arms and let's figure this thing out so we can move in cadence and go into the direction that we need to go. Period. And a point blank, this is staying on code. Everything that your identity is lost or attached to a man or attached to an accolade or attached to anything, because you are enough. You alone are enough, and you are deserving, and you're valuable, and you're worthy. So we want to get into a little bit of shadow work. We want to get into a little bit of inner work. Drop down in the comments if you're interested in learning more about this, if you're interested in talking more about this. Let me know if that is where your interest lies, so I can know if you're going this way, if you're going that way. Okay, as always, I'm sending you much love and much light, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.